yeah, well, Owen Benjamin, he's going on his whole we didn't go to the moon theory because technology. And then there's that interview from that NASA dude that's like, we actually erased all the telemetry data that we had on these things.
Right. And at first I thought that was really strange, but then I thought about it from like a Cold War perspective.
Yeah, you don't want to get in the hands of...
Right. So the safest thing to do is to destroy it, because then nobody can get back to the moon. And I'm sure that there is a copy somewhere.
There has to be.
There has to be.
And not only that, that was in a time when people were doing stuff by slide rules.
Yeah.
And manual machinists. You know what I'm saying? They were the proto CNC machines back then, not like we have today where they're,
yeah, you just
machining this crazy shit and you're just like, oh, look at that, look at that,
you
go.
Press the button and it does like a 4-axis motion.
Because what do you call it? The old Saturn rockets.
Yeah, the Saturn V's. Saturn V.
The engines, they were like the best, right?
Of all time, yeah.
And they can't make them now the reason why they can't make them now, it's not because we've lost technology. It's just they were handmade. Oh yeah, one of a kind. Each one was one of a kind.
A one-off.
So it's not like they were masters.
Right, there was no assembly line for them.
Yeah, I forget how many hundreds of parts they had to make those things, and now they've made a new version of the Saturn V, which we can produce now, obviously, but it's like 15 parts.
Yeah.
And it's more efficient. Duh, we're going to get better, right? But
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like
people that want to get on this moon theory. Now, see, Stanley Kubrick, he might have done some of the scenes that we saw.
Even if he was just like an advisor, like, hey, you should take it from this angle, so that way the public sees this beautiful, picturesque, like, because he's got the artistic mind, and he's talking to a bunch of engineers who are like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
2 + 2 is 4.
Then you get into, like, The Shining.
Yeah.
And then people go, wait, what? Because the kid's wearing the Apollo sweater.
Yeah.
And they go to the room, which is I think it was how many miles it is to the moon. Mm-hmm. And then, all this crazy stuff. And then, 2001 Space Odyssey.
If maybe he was doing that just to be like, create a conspiracy. Because to me, that's fun, when you start a fake rumor.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes it can be fun.
1960s troll.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Because my opinion is humans have always been trolls. We just now have the internet to see it.
True, but then you get into Kubrick's other films, and especially like his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. Have you seen that?
No.
It's this whole... It's kind of like the Illuminati type movie where there's this elite underground party thing that the elites do, and
that doesn't sound like it could ever exist.
But
sounds made up, dude.
He bumps into his friend from like college, and his friend's like a musician, and he plays at these parties, but he plays blindfolded so he doesn't see anything or whatever. And he meets up with his old college buddy, and they start talking, and his college buddy kind of like tells him about it. And says, oh, well, the way to get in is you got to do this, you got to get a mask, you got to show up with a whatever, and then to get in you got to say the password.
What's the password?
I think the password was Fidelio or something like that.
The password is...
So, yeah, Tom Cruise.
That was a good game show, by the way. It's a jackal. It's a jackal. It's a jackal. No, if it's a jackal, it'd been a jackal.
So Tom Cruise goes to the party in this like huge mansion, and he says the password. They let him in, and he's walking around, and it's like an occult ceremony where they have like naked chicks standing on a pentagram.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this film.
Yeah. And
I might have seen it a while ago.
He died right after, like he died I think before it actually it premiered. But if you think about it, like, okay, if he put out this movie showing all these secrets and they killed him for it, why did the movie even come out? Mm-hmm. But then there's other theory that they think that there's almost like an occult power they gain from putting things in plain sight.
Yes.
That's why you see a lot
I've
of the
thought
music
about that
videos
too.
where
Like they're
it's
really
one eye.
weird, and like the whole Lady Gaga phenomenon.
Oh yeah,
Because
she's-
I forget what book it is. They talk about like, and this goes way back into like I think the Renaissance or maybe the Dark Ages, where they talk about putting out not necessarily a puppet, but like a beautiful flower. I think is how it's described to distract the populace.
from what's really going on.
Yeah, and so they're gonna always choose women. Cause like look at Beyonce.
Yeah,
Like, Jay-Z walked around and was like, huh, Illuminati, oh, it's The Rock, But
yeah.
what is he doing now?
Exact same thing. Have you seen him in that like pantsuit, that Hillary pantsuit?
Yeah, he got it from the same store that Kim Jong-un got it. It's the future dictators are us.
Yeah.
We have pantsuits and pantsuits.
Yeah.
Would you like it in old lady or men? You can't say that because I should be allowed to wear a pantsuit.
Yeah. What about did you see that meltdown?
Which one?
The it's ma'am. He's like, it is ma'am. Not sir, ma'am. Like, no, dude.
Sir, you have a dick with an erection.
Plus, you're like 6'3".
Yeah.
Your voice confirms you're a
Down
dude.
low.
Yeah.
You're lower than Australia right now, dude.
And then he's to the guy that misgendered him behind the counter. He's like, "Oh, you want to go outside? I'll show you, sir." It's like, oh.
Wait, so now you identify as a man?
Yeah.
That whole identification bullshit, like, I don't even know where to begin with it. And it's one of the things I'm a little worried about with having a kid on the way now is like, not that they're gonna go through the whole I want to be a boy or girl if they're opposite, right?
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna be explaining to them how there are fucking retards in the world that can't get a simple like A or B option down.
Yeah, like with the whole gender being on a spectrum, like I get it.
Yeah, like so you can have an effeminate man, right, or like a tomboy girl, but the sex is biological.
Yeah, but
Right?
there's
Your chromosomes are always going to be a certain way.
but what the people that are trying to promote this is that gender is separate from sex, from biological sex. They think gender is a social construct. Like there's a social norm of what a boy is supposed to like and what a boy is supposed to do, and there's social norms for what a girl likes and what a girl wants to do, which there are. But
I feel like those have been broken now because like I see a lot more of like my buddies taking their daughters out hunting, and
yeah,
taking them to science engineer type stuff,
Yeah.
like play with Legos or whatever. Like,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah,
I mean, it's not like I'm one of those people that's going to do this whole social experiment with my kids,
right.
But my oldest, Aiden, when he was growing up, me and my wife didn't force him to do anything. He just naturally gravitated towards that stuff, right?
Right.
This is before he started daycare, before he started school,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's kind of my theory going to be going forward is I'm going to, in the military way the term, let the situation develop before
Yeah.
we go ahead with a plan of action sometimes. So I'm going to let the child develop and I'll try to just, if they have a gravity towards drawing and painting or music or whatever, then I'll enhance that.
yeah.
Like I'm not going to try to force anything on them.
It's like Aiden, there was a period of time when his favorite color was pink.
The Spartans also favorite color was pink.
What?
Did you know that? Spartans? Yeah, they wore pink. Men wore pink because it was a light red.
But Tom Snyder didn't
Yeah.
show that in 300.
And they also wore blue because that was like a color of nobility back then.
Oh yeah, blue, yeah.
Blue.
But it's all blue blood and
Yep.
all that stuff. The what was I talking about?
Aiden had like pink.
Oh yeah, he liked pink. And then there was another time when he actually said, "I want to be a girl," and me and Tiff were like,
What?
But after talking, not trying to like down him for wanting to do that or
Yeah.
wanted to experience it, I realized that that's exactly what it was.
Just curiosity.
Curiosity. He didn't
Yeah.
know what it was like to be a girl, so he
Because
wanted
he knows
to
what
know.
it's like to be a boy.
Yeah, he wanted to know what it was like to be a girl. So it's like,
Well, all the other boys are gonna do your homework for free. You know, you're gonna get snacks on the reg.
well, like after going through that with my son, like with that question and like not trying to probe him or like, oh, so you want, okay, well, let's get you on some hormone blockers and
Yeah,
dress
that
you
would
in
be a mistake
dress.
anyway.
Yeah, but see, another more modern leftist parent, I guess, would go, oh,
Let's cut your dick off right now, son.
I have a trans child, so
No.
they want to do the hormone blockers and stuff like that. It's like,
See, I think we all go through that because my mom has a photo of me now. I was a kid, so I don't know if it's staged or not.
yeah,
But my sister, my younger sister, is in my dad's clothing, you know, like a suit, and it's all big and bulky, and it's funny because it's an
Yeah.
80s suit.
Yeah.
Right? And then my mom has me in one of those dresses with, like, the 80s poof shoulders. You know? So, like,
yeah,
was that me at the same time, like, exploring? Because I'm sure when I was a kid, I was curious as to, you know, the differences that we would experience in life.
yeah. Like when I was a kid, I remember my mom and my aunt, you know, 'cause I grew up in an evangelical Christian household and
Yeah.
stuff, so going to church, you know,
Or you go to hell if you don't.
Yeah.
So,
so we'd go to church and, you know, they not always dress up, but they'd usually, you know, dress better than just lounging at the house.
Right. At least something clean and presentable.
So my aunt would always wear the high heels and stuff, and I
Mhm.
would sit there and be like, how in the fuck does she walk in those things? Like, how do you balance yourself on that little
Here's a
thing?
fun fact: high heels were invented for men.
What?
Yeah, dude.
You just made my brain hurt. What?
High heels were something men wore.
Well, I
And-
know- I
and
know
wigs
that.
and makeup.
Yeah, I know that.
What
and,
the fuck?
And bouquets.
Yeah. So
Bouquets
We-
were to hide the stank breath.
we spent all this time getting away from that as men, to now we're circling back to it. It's just like the
it's-
hieroglyphs is the same as emojis now. We're not
Yeah.
using language anymore. We're using representations of things.
cyclical.
Yeah.
Like
Weird.
me, my favorite way to comment on Facebook is through GIFs. I think it's
funnier
hilarious
because you can convey the exact emotion you want with just a quick little image versus typing out, which can be taken a million different ways. This is funny. Oh, this is funny?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you, guy.
Exactly.
Or,
exactly.
oh, this is fun. Oh, he thinks it's funny. Like, this is completely different ways.
And there's like a few like go-to gifs that I always use, like the Tony Soprano when he's
Yeah.
sitting there and he's like, bingo. That one.
My favorite one to use when I like general like super excited for something is in Inglourious Bastards. I forget the actor, but it's the German protagonist, right? The bad guy.
Oh, the
He's sitting there and he goes, "Ooh,
yeah.
that's a bingo."
yeah, that's a bingo. Yeah,
It's just bango.
yeah. What was another one I used? This kind of like
I like the Batman in the rain and he's just pushing the swing and then he's like all dark and depressed. You haven't seen that one?
no, I haven't seen that one.
I'm Batman.
I've seen
Well,
the
yeah, so-
I've seen the gif of it's like a hill tunnel and a train coming,
Mm-hmm.
but the tunnel is oddly resembles a butthole and the train oddly resembles a phallus, and the tunnel is too small for the train, and the train just bam, bam.
Forces way.
It's pretty graphic,
Oh man.
but it's funny.
But yeah, since I've been doing a lot of study on like, for whatever reason, I got into Vikings recently, like in history.
Yeah,
So I've been doing a lot of research and studying, and I found out that during the Viking expansion, a lot of the Vikings, because they had different hygienic practices, right? Because most of the medieval era, or I think it's medieval, whatever, like the 600 BC era,
yeah.
like most people would only bathe once a month, whereas
They thought they would get sick if they
Right.
bathed. Yeah,
the Danes, you know, in Vikings, they would bathe every Saturday, right? Or at least once a week. So they were always fresher smelling. So when they would take over these towns, a lot of the women were like, hey, he smells better. So like they would gravitate towards it. So like there wasn't a lot of issue with procreating and actually breeding out your enemy, so to
Yeah.
speak. And they also wore makeup into combat. So they looked better and they smelt better. And this is part of the reason why we have a lot of mixed in the United Kingdom now, which I thought was pretty interesting because like,
but now the new invasions of Europe.
yeah, so that was my other point was
They're
The
outbreeding.
outbreeding has always been a tactic, and we even see that through early humans when we're talking about like Neanderthal and a couple other Homo sapien or the other species.
the other hominids that were
Hominids,
around.
yeah, thank you. So like we are the culmination of the outbreeding of
But
that.
see, like when you get into that, like if you really want to get into that, it's really hard not to sound like you're into eugenics,
True.
because you got humanity, modern humans coming out of southern Africa, right?
Humans.
Yeah, when they hit, as far as we know now, when they
Yeah.
hit around when they migrated up to
Around
the
Greece,
the Middle
Turkey,
East,
yeah.
the Middle East, there they ran into Neanderthal and another one. I forget the.
Yeah, there was two different species there.
They both had bigger brains
Yes.
than humans, and we interbred with both of them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why like the races kind of split there.
Yes.
You got the Europeans, the guy, the more white guy.
Right.
Then you had also the Indian and the
But
the
we also
Asian.
have like the reason there are different pigment colors in our skin has to do with the different needs and necessities of
Oh,
our
yeah.
environment,
Yeah,
which like
but there are specific. If you look at the main races of the world, not like ethnic groups, because there are ethnic groups within
Right.
races, right? So you look at the main races, or even throwing Jews there. You know, it's an
the
ethnic
Ashkenazi
group.
Jew, yeah.
They're now we're talking generally like a bell curve, right? There's
Mhm.
always outliers on each
Sure.
side.
Yeah, yeah.
Generally speaking, Jews are intelligent, right?
And it's kind of reflected today when we look at, what type of jobs people with Jewish heritage gravitate towards, right?
What kind of jobs that Asian people gravitate towards? What kind of jobs
Right.
that Indian? I mean,
I don't want to say it's deeply ingrained in the genetics, but
also
in a,
societal.
well, yeah, there are huge societal pressures, and that's a whole other topic we can talk about. But like, because the things that the societal cultures push, like on the Japanese culture, like those dudes, like
Perfectionism.
perfectionism to a T. Otherwise, it's perfection or death.
Yep.
There's no gray areas there,
Yep.
right? And that's admirable for some people.
That's why, me and a whole family, we watched The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
And at first-
Also a Tom Cruise film.
Yeah, which is good and is bad because it's not accurate, but it kind of conveys the whole
But
samurai.
It does, yeah.
thing.
It brings light to a whole way of life.
Yeah, the whole perfection or death thing.
Yep.
Like my son, like he was really like, wait, why is that guy killing himself?
Because that's what they believed.
Yeah, like, well, he didn't do good enough, so
He commits seppuku.
yeah. And my son, he couldn't
And-
wrap his brain around
And
it.
if you weren't given the opportunity to commit seppuku, like that was even worse.
Yeah,
Like you were forever shamed, and you bore a mark of failure.
yeah. Like if you did something honorable and you were committing seppuku for the honor,
Yeah.
chances are the guy that's assisting you is gonna cut your head off quick.
So you don't feel the pain.
Yeah. And then you got the people that, they're forced to.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to, so they're forced to, and they do
I was
it.
also, when I was studying the samurai, because I've been going through different time periods, like there were samurai who, even if they were shamed and failed, they would still work for a different. They just became like a mercenary.
Yeah, well,
So
so
it
you
wasn't
like,
like everybody committed seppuku.
yeah, there's a whole 47 Ronin
Yeah.
story, and that became a movie with Keanu Reeves, which they kind of fantasized and
Well, yeah,
put all
they-
this fantasy stuff
They
in
put
there.
a little extra magic stuff in there,
Yeah.
like treetop fighting.
But
That happened though.
yeah, China,
There's no
Crouching
gravity
Tiger.
in China. Flat Earth.
lower gravity. That's
Yeah.
why their torsos are the same length
Yeah.
as their.
That's their legs, yeah.
So, like, I don't know if that's
Flat Earth.
yeah. But anyways, like samurai. Samurai comes from the root word servant or
Yes.
to serve.
To serve, yeah.
So they would have to serve a lord, a daimyo, or
Right.
a warlord, right?
It's very similar to like the European model where you have knights serving
Yeah.
local lords.
But with them, the technical rule was if you're the lord that you're serving, if you let him die,
You're supposed to
you're
die
supposed
too.
to die
Yeah,
too.
because it's your fault directly.
Well, what would happen is in a battle, like especially during the Warring States period in Japan,
Mhm.
which was like 150-year civil war, which is crazy. Our Civil
Talk
War.
about
Our Civil War was
talk
only
about
like what,
crazy
4 or
times.
5 years? 4 years?
I think it was 4 years.
Yeah.
But you also got to remember the size of America, and like we had to walk up to DC, and then they walked back down
Well,
from DC. Like
Japan was pretty. I mean,
Japan's fairly big.
That's hilly too. Ooh.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few mountain ranges.
So, but what would happen, like, in a battle, they'd win, they'd kill the one side would kill the other side's lord or
Yeah.
daimyo, and then the samurai that worked for that guy was like, well, you got a choice. You can either
You can join me or die.
join me or commit seppuku. And they're like, hey, I want to go with you. So they would just,
So we still storming this way, right?
exactly.
Hey, I need to take this banner off my back. I need that one.
And if you didn't commit seppuku and you didn't
Join
join another thing,
You
were,
became an outlaw,
you,
right?
you were a Ronin.
Yeah.
And Ronin was like, ooh, looked down on, like, oh, you're a Ronin, dude. I mean,
You
now
have no honor.
there were like a couple. I think there was one old school Japanese animation cartoon when I was a kid, Ronin Warrior or something like that, where it was like, oh, it's cool, to be like this wandering.
Defy the odds.
Yeah, but then it really wasn't. And the tale of the 47 Ronin actually did happen. And
Yeah, I know it's a true story.
their lord was assassinated, right? And
By the ninja?
well, I don't know, was it?
Might have been.
I don't know. Well, anyways, he died, and I think he was poisoned or something. And that's another thing I had to tell my wife, because there's in the Last Samurai, there's like this whole ninja clan that attacks the samurai.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
not the way ninjas actually
Very
did stuff.
like 0.0001% of the time they would do that.
Yeah.
They were normally just farmers. That's why a lot of the
Yes.
ninja
Weaponry.
weapon were like come
or
from farm tools.
Yeah.
And I was like, usually they just like mess with irrigation to destroy crops.
Mm-hmm.
They would spy. They would assassinate by like
a lot
poison.
of the ninjas. I found out too when I did this study when I was back in high school on ninjas, and like they were so small and so few, and they were so secretive because they were just assassins. They weren't really well. Like if they went toe to toe with a samurai would dominate
Oh,
them
yeah.
because the samurai had the better weapon, right? Because the katanas are deadly. But the samurai
the
were also
ninja
trained.
The ninja katanas were like kind of crappily, just shittily
Yeah,
made.
they were-
Like, oh, hurry up!
Yeah, because it's called a ninjado, and it's just a straight sword, and it was designed for poking
Yeah.
to try to get underneath the scales or in between in the weave and all that. But yeah, they weren't in open conflict with them at all,
Yeah.
and they would wear dark blue because that was a common color, like dark blue pajamas, or they would wear like a green to blend in with the woods,
Yeah,
like earth tones, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't look out of place.
yeah. I told Tiffany that. She's like, really? Well then, why are they? I'm like, it's a movie. They got to
Yeah.
have something cool.
Yeah, they have to.
But
Like Ra's al Ghul training Batman up in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
How to be a ninja.
yeah,
And
I was
then-
kind
and then
of
fight crime.
I was kind of disappointed that they killed him, or they supposedly killed him off right there because
did they kill him?
yeah, that's
Did
a-
they?
he's not supposed to. He's supposed to be
Did they
immortal.
kill him? Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, speaking of Batman, since we brought
Oh,
that
wait,
up real
hold
quick. Okay.
Back to it's still a samurai thing.
Samurai
The, like still like what's funny is it happens a lot in war movies or in like a movie that has the whole concept of honor.
Oh yeah, theme.
Like I can get choked up by watching that movie. It's like, man,
Because it hits home probably.
yeah, it's like just the
the
integrity and dedication in the movie.
right.
The samurai did, commit seppuku or whatever. What happened?
You got a Facebook message.
The government knows best.
Yeah.
I
Anyways,
forgot that I was on here. I was up here to.
speaking of like honor in movies, like there was one part in the last Star Wars film, even though the movie was utter shit,
It was.
when what's his name, Boyega, I forget.
Yeah.
That's his actor's name, Boyega. His character is
Boyega.
it Finn? Boyega, yeah.
Yeah.
I think is it
Finn.
Finn? Yeah.
Finn.
When he was
Gonna ram
gonna
that.
ram that weapon,
And then that
like I
bitch.
started getting choked up because I was like, this dude is making the ultimate sacrifice. That is what soldiers do. People go to war and people die. That's like a fact of life. And this, like, I was starting to get choked up in the theater, and then she stopped him, and I felt so angry.
Yeah.
because she just
She robbed
him
Yeah.
of the greatest honor that a soldier can do. Like laying down your life for another is
Plus-
the greatest thing you can do.
Plus, his character wasn't the greatest, I guess.
No, he was.
You know?
Yeah, he was. Like in the past, he was like a coward.
Yeah.
This was a huge turning point for him to become a hero. Like story arc wise, that was amazing. Like I would never say shit about him deserting his stormtrooper duties
Yeah.
after that.
Ryan Johnson completely.
Ryan Johnson's the biggest troll.
Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy is all about. Yeah, I like that movie because it was all about women.
If you want to promote women in power, fine,
Yeah.
but do it tastefully.
I mean, look at Leia.
Leia is one of the
In the original trilogy, she
Right.
was still a
when she
shit
was a
talking
slave,
badass.
Yeah, when she was a slave, right? And, like forced to be a sex symbol, and what did she do? She killed her captor.
Yeah.
What kind of message does that say to women? Like, you don't have to be this object.
Yeah.
Take matters in your own hands. Like Luke didn't kill Jabba the Hutt.
Exactly. He was busy getting his hand blown. Yeah.
Han Solo didn't do shit.
But back to the samurai thing. Another thing that's kind of inaccurate about that movie, The Last Samurai, is the fact that they kind of showed the samurai as like trying to keep this tradition of, you know, how Japan was with the samurai culture and the different feudal system.
Right.
But in the feudal system, samurais are kind of like tyrants. You know, like the farmers and the peasants, they worked for samurai.
Yeah.
And if they didn't do it, if they didn't meet
Very
with their
similar to a slave owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot there's a huge like as soon as Japan started to become more
I guess you could call it modernized.
Yeah,
'cause it was
modernized.
the industrial period started to take over.
So when they started doing that and leaving the feudal system behind, everybody that was like a lower class on the tall pole were like, yeah, F those samurai, you know, like fuck you, dude.
I thought, I mean, from the story of, you know, the death of traditional and honorable ways, you know, ushering the gun period, like I took that as like, oh, that's a sad story.
Well, see,
like,
even
do you
though
lose your identity as you modernize?
Like that uprising that was in that movie
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like historically accurate. It was like a couple different uprisings that happened that got merged into that movie. Like
Right.
It's kind of like
when they take several characters and
Black Hawk Down.
Right.
A lot of the Delta guys were merged into Hoot.
Yeah.
So with that, there was a whole bunch in there, and they did use firearms. They used the old school, you know.
The muskets, yeah.
Because
we have muskets.
repeaters.
Yeah, I think repeater rovers
War.
had just started to come around, and I know they were selling them surplus Gatling guns from the Civil War.
Yeah.
And cannons.
So there were samurai that actually had their own cannon and their own guns that actually wore kind of like more modern clothes, but had their
traditional
swords.
Sword, yeah. Because it was still a status symbol, and then we saw the same thing happen in Europe when the guns started coming around. You know, if you were nobility and a knight or whatever, you still carried a sword, right? And we see it with, you know, throughout the Black Powder ages, where like British officers still carrying around swords, even though there's muskets everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's still it was a status symbol, and it slowly faded out to where now the swords are reserved for special occasions and military ceremony.
Just like our Civil War when Lee and Grant met for Grant's surrender.
They handed over swords.
Grant was just decked the F. I keep saying the F.
He gave himself awards, right?
Well, I'm not saying awards. I'm just saying he was in a clean pressed uniform. Yeah. He had his engraved saber.
Yeah, everything was.
It was his dress ornate, like, hey, I'm coming to
a ceremonial dress. Yeah.
So he showed up in that, and Grant shows up in like some other guy's coat that was like a specialist or something back then, and his boots were all muddy. He's like, oh shit. Sorry.
Because one side looked at it as it was a momentous occasion to surrender, right? And so he should have understood the situation, but or maybe he didn't have a clean uniform on hand, or maybe it was a sign of disrespect. You know, I could see it that way.
It could have been, but I don't think it was. I just don't think that he thought that Grant was going to come to the table like that.
And maybe he expected, well, no, it's different leadership styles, you know? That's why we have different ways to lead men.
Yeah. If you look at both of them, it's like Grant would have been that commander that comes in and be like, all right, everyone's got a day off. I don't give a fuck. You know,
He's
and
at
then,
first starting at 3:30 in the morning. Doesn't want to do the ruck march all of a sudden because it's below 40, and he's like, first exercise will be zonk.
yeah,
If you guys are still here in 10 seconds, your ruck march, and you're like, oh fuck.
yeah,
That is the fastest I've ever seen anybody move with a ruck. It was like no shit 3:30 here at Campbell, and it was like, I want to say 17 degrees, and there was
Yeah.
ice on the road, and our first sergeant's like, he gives us through all the warm-ups, and we're like, fuck, we're stretching out, and like, this is gonna suck, because you can feel the cold, right?
yeah.
And I didn't have feeling in my toes, and he goes, zonk, and then everybody's go, phew. I was left standing there, I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Oh, are we recording? On the camera?
Camera's recording.
Okay. Because that would be terrible if we sat down and had another conversation and be like, good
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
And then just be like, oh,
Yeah, I made sure that was the first thing I did.
whoopsies.
That was from Mortal Kombat, right?
Was it?
Yeah, like,
Because some of these things that like happen in my brain and these little quick little, I don't know, what are quips?
yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole whoopsie
Whoopsies.
is from
Yeah.
some arcade game.
It has to
Pretty
be
sure.
because I spent a lot of time in arcades when I was a kid.
Yeah, I remember the X-Men arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend, we like took $20 each just to beat it.
Just to be Wolverine.
Well, he was always, what was he? He was always, I think he was Gambit. I was always
Gambit was always a good option too.
I was always Wolverine. The only thing about Wolverine I didn't like is his special move.
Yeah.
It was only like,
It was kind of janky.
yeah,
I remember when that arcade game came out. Was it Super Nintendo or the Sega? It was one. Maybe it was both. But like, it came out and I was like, oh my god, I no longer have to spend money.
oh yeah, yeah. Super Nintendo was.
I think it was the Super Nintendo was when it came out.
I think Super Nintendo. I think that my favorite game, at least in my childhood, was Super Mario World.
Mm-hmm.
I just like how in depth
The game was.
Yeah.
So
You know, you had your different, you had your different parts of the world, and each world or each part was controlled by one of his kids.
yeah, I remember that now.
And then after going through it once, me and my friend, we always like had to rent or get every Mario game and beat it. And
Right. You went down to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he had Super Mario World and he bought it, and we were playing it, and we had gone through the whole thing and beat Bowser at
Mhm.
the end. But then the Ultimate Guide to Super Mario World came out, and like
You missed a bunch of stuff?
a bunch of stuff.
You missed a bunch. I know it.
Oh my god, it blew our minds. We're like, wait, what? This is what? You had to beat this
Dude.
level in such amount of time
Yeah,
and
to
hit
get
this.
yeah.
To open up that part and hidden stuff, and you're like, oh man. So
Like, games back then were just done completely different. Like, there was a lot more content, and
yeah,
I remember the game I spent a lot of time was Chrono Trigger. It was a RPG game,
yeah.
and it dealt with time travel. It was my first,
I remember. Funny thing, I remember going to Blockbuster and picking it out.
do ya?
Yeah, I do.
Because my cousin had it, and so I borrowed it, and it was supposed to be just for like 2 weeks. But my parents had the car. I didn't have a car. I was a little
Yeah.
kid, right? And he lived too far for me to like ride my bike there. And so he would call my house, be like, "Hey, can you bring home the game?" Because it was summer. He wanted to play, and I was like, "I have to ask my parents." But yeah, I spent many of hours in that game. It's just a good game, and I
Yeah.
still play it because like they have emulators for it now, and
Yeah,
you can play it again. It, as RPG wise, I think it still holds up to the test of time. Oh, look, that person is triggered.
yeah. Like I've been getting a lot of views and stuff on the Facebook page here recently with a bunch
yeah?
of posts. Yeah,
Well, that's good.
not really because
I might have to get on Facebook eventually now. 'Cause, like, I'm on it. I
what
haven't been on it in forever.
what happens with Facebook if you have a page is they'll immediately cut the people that are like, say, let's see, how many do I have? 4,000 something.
Mm.
See, I'm not even seeing it right now. We'll say I get like 4,000 people that like the page.
Yeah.
only 10% of that will see a post, see all my posts, right? And they have to actually not only like the page, but they have to click follow the page. Kind of like YouTube does it, where you have to subscribe and then click the bell.
Click the notifications.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
It is.
Why'd they do that?
I don't know. I mean, I know why Facebook did it. Is because they want you to pay for advertising. So, like, if I do a post, they'll say, hey, if you boost your post, then this many people will see it. And say I get like 4,000 people that like the page. If I pay like $20 to give them $20, then they'll let 2,000 people see the page.
See, and that's kind of weird because they're trying to control the content flow.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bad business practice.
Well, like
because they're going to sell ads on your page regardless, right?
Yeah, the pages that are from like bigger companies or corporations or whatever that have an advertising budget, yeah, that's fine. But
the little guys,
us that started this just on a whim,
for fun, mostly, for funsies.
So, but what the thing is like I've been getting consistently, have been posting like pictures and videos or whatever that'll get like 2,000 views or whatever, 2,000 likes, like just organically, and I hadn't paid for it. So when you keep doing that, what they do is they go, okay, and they throttle you. So I've been throttled quite a few times. And I think I'm going to start getting throttled here soon again, too, because...
See, the internet was quite possibly the greatest invention for humanity. Social media is quite possibly the worst thing we've ever invented. And, like, that's comparing it to nuclear weaponry as well. Because the problem with social media is if somebody writes something, they feel validated because it's instantly in a black and white form. And there's no fact checking, just based off of emotions and feelings. And they're like, this is now a valid point. No, you're full of holes.
Yeah.
Your story doesn't make sense, whatever. Doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
And then people feel like they're safe because they're behind a computer screen that they can just write whatever they want. And not feel like...
It's different writing a comment as opposed to saying it to somebody's face.
Right. Because I could still say, I fucking hate you or whatever to your face. But the consequence of that in-person action might mean like actual fist fight or something else. But on the computer, people can just feel like they can get away with whatever.
Yep.
It's a complete anarchy. And so people that argue for anarchy, I'm just like, well, look at YouTube comments. Is that what you want everyday life to be like? Go to the supermarket and potentially get shot for no reason whatsoever, just other than for the fact of a guy wanted to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
That is YouTube comments or Facebook, social media, whatever. That's human nature.
I remember.
Carl Sagan said.
For a while. What?
Carl Sagan in that one documentary, the humans. He didn't pronounce the H very well. The Ach, as the British people say. That's fucking stupid.
Oh God, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about...
So it's probably something along the lines of anarchy. Anarchy, I don't know what it means, but I like it.